not learned to manage their waste. A new set of solid waste management rules have also been enacted in 2016. Many petitions, many committees, and many rules later, what has changed? Have we paid attention to the lives of those who manage our waste? We look at these questions by following the journey of waste in Delhi.
ये हमारा गाजीपुर डंप साइट है सर माइक So this is the Gazipur dump site. This is even taller than Qutub Minar.
अच्छा नहीं लगता था तब मेरा आदत से हो गई करना लगाया भी था अच्छे के लिए लगाया था पर हुआ नहीं ऐसा कुछ हुआ नहीं
Delhi, the capital of India, has failed in managing its solid waste. According to the master plan of the city 2021, 3 of Delhi's landfill sites exhausted their capacity in 2008.
If you look at waste management in India overall, there's about 62 million tons per annum of garbage that is produced, on an annual basis, which is roughly 1,41,000 tons per day. Coming down to Delhi, amongst the metropolitans, it is the highest generator, somewhere around 11,000 to 11,500 tons per day of garbage that is collected or produced every day. Less than 5% of decentralized processing in Delhi, almost 80% of centralized incineration-based processing, which is via waste-to-energy plants, and then remaining of it is dumped. So I feel in terms of painting a picture on processing and disposal, I think this is the worst model that exists in the country and contradictory to the fact that this is the capital.
Delhi has 2 distinct waste disposal mechanisms. The source of waste is mostly households and hotels. The first mechanism is the informal waste picker, and the other one, a private concessionaire employed by the MCD.
If you look at waste management in Delhi, you can basically divide it into 2 parts. One is the formal management system, which is majorly governed by the municipality, and the informal system, wherein the RWA is local and formal sector, and then the work goes by. In the formal chain, typically it works as a contract agreement between the municipality and a private concessionaire. Basically, they hire a third-party agency that is responsible for collection, taking waste to a designated point, from where it goes for processing and disposal. In an informal chain, basically all the resident welfare associations of Delhi, they open informal sector for collecting waste, and then they would, in their push carts, go to a designated point, which is Halao in case of Delhi, and from there it's picked up by a municipal compactor, and then in certain areas of Delhi it goes to a fixed compactor transfer station, and from there to a waste to energy plant. In certain areas of Delhi, directly from there goes to a dumping point. So these are the 2 collection mechanisms that are adopted in Delhi predominantly.
Appalled by how Indian urban centers manage their municipal solid waste, Almitra Patel, a civic activist, filed a petition in the Supreme Court in 1996. This led to the enactment of the Municipal Solid Waste Management Rules 2000. Many petitions have been filed since, and many orders passed.
There have been some major cases in the Supreme Court. V.L. Vadera comes to mind, was the first case of trying to look at solid waste management. Then Almitra Patel's case came out, and so in municipal solid waste I'm talking. But now there have been so many judgments of the National Green Tribunals, the high courts, the lower courts. It's everywhere. But basically after 2016, we've had this modified municipal solid waste rules. So the court's rule is pretty solid, I think. The rule has all areas, all grounds covered because long experience of understanding what the problems were in the 2000 rules.
The NGT, through orders in Almitra Patel versus Union of India, is monitoring the implementation of Solid Waste Management Rules 2016. Despite several judgments being passed by the apex court of the country and the National Green Tribunal, there are problems in their implementation. The most important one is integration. SWM Rules 2016 and SWM bylaws encouraged integration of the informal sector into the waste value chain. But the solid waste management system in Delhi barely offers any recommendations for informal waste pickers.
Delhi also has a huge population of informal workers. If you break it down into numbers, it's about 1.3 to 1.4 million. And if we talk about the country figure as a whole, 2% of the urban population of the country is informal sector, which are directly or indirectly related with waste management related jobs. Imagine a life in a city without a kabadi wala, without a rat picker. You know, the moment you throw something that has value, it just gets vanished from the road, and there's no magician out there. There's actually a rat picker, who picks it up and sends it to the informal recycling stream. So I feel it's high time that cities, especially cities like Delhi, give due credit to the informal system. Also, municipalities here should play a crucial role in ensuring that informal sector is somehow integrated.
जो कूड़ा चुगते हैं पीते हैं कबाड़ी लोग, वो तो बेचारे यही है कि अपने 150 का बिल लेते हैं, तो वही अपने बेच वास्ते रोटी खा लेते हैं, चाय पानी पी लेते हैं, अपने खर्चे के लिए बिजली का वाला।
Practicals are doing a great service. They are rendering a huge service to society. That needs to be acknowledged. They should be paid for it. Otherwise, they are living on the edge and just trying to sell whatever they pick and make a little bit of money out of it. But if they are made safe because they are constantly exposed to batteries and toxic things and rusted metal and broken glass, so they need to be looked after, they need to be made safe, they need to understand their own safety, they need to earn some money from it because it's a service.
नहीं, हमारे पास तो नहीं है हमारे पास। अगर बन जाए तो अच्छी बात है, तो फिर जैसे हम लोग कबाड़ी का काम कर रहे हैं, कहीं तो चोरी वोरी हो रहा है, तो हम दिखा सकते हैं कि हम कबाड़ी का काम करते हैं, क्योंकि हम चोरी नहीं करते। जैसा भी करते हैं, इज्जत का काम करते हैं, इज्जत का खाते हैं।
The importance of acknowledging them is basically, or acknowledging the sector, is then you can actually create more robust partnerships with them. So the informal sector is responsible for a lot of the collection. Even when formal sector actors get contracts, they normally informally subcontract the informal sector. In Delhi, in East Delhi, most of the doorstep collection is still done by informal sector. The East Delhi Municipal Corporation has not very much to do with it. And they also do the segregation, they also do the hyper-segregation.
NGT directed that tipping fees should be based on the quality of waste. But the tipping fee is usually charged by the plant operators based on the quantity of the mixed waste received at the plant.
Municipalities really need to up their game. Also the kind of collaborations that they do with private bodies. There's a concept called tipping fee, wherein you sign an agreement with a private concessionaire, and most of the times these agreements are based on collection and transportation and disposal of garbage. I feel that that needs to change. In the West, tipping fee means that if you dump, you pay, if you incinerate, you pay, which means that if you use any resources of municipality, you need to pay a fee. But I think in India, we've really adopted it in a long manner. Here, if we dump, we get money. If we incinerate, we get money, which is the tipping fee. So I think tipping fee, the entire concept needs to be worked down. It has to be on collection and processing and not collection and disposal.
जो अभी यहाँ गाड़ी लगा है ये तो लोकल इसको नहीं मिल रहा ना, ये तो कंपनी वालों को मिल रहा है, ये कंपनी वाले की तरफ से गाड़ी है। जो हम कूड़ा उठा रहे हैं हमें कुछ नहीं मिल रहा है, जैसे हमें देना चाहिए था ये काम।
According to the new rules of SWM 2016, segregation is the responsibility of the waste generator. In fact, according to the new rules, segregation needs to be ensured at all steps of the waste chain. But there is no implementation happening at the grassroots level.
गीला कचरा और सूखा कचरा दोनों टाइप के कचरे उसको हमें सेग्रीगेट करना चाहिए, पर घर पे मैक्सिमम लोग नहीं करते हैं ये चीज़, पर ये एक्सरसाइज करनी चाहिए।
अब क्या पता इसका नहीं कोई वजह है ना कोई मतलब है क्या क्यों का ये अभी कर रहे हैं, कोई 1 महीने से ये 2 महीने से कर रहे हैं, अन्य सब पूरा एक ही साथ बाल्टी में जाता था जीएसटी में।
अवेयरनेस कईयों का अवेयरनेस भी नहीं है, थोड़ा आलसपन भी है, तो नहीं सब लेते हैं एक ही डस्टबिन में थ्रो कर देते हैं। घर पे ये होता है कि कूड़े वाला आता उठा के चलो ले गया, बट वो सेपरेट तो होता नहीं ना, वो एक ही जगह सब कुछ जा रहा है।
People don't segregate their waste adequately, particularly things like syringes, which diabetics use, diapers, menstrual waste, sharps, broken glass. All of that is mixed up and thrown away in the waste, routinely. And then they get injuries, and when they get injuries, they're not able to work as efficiently. And if those injuries are quite serious, for example, if there's acid that you've thrown away after cleaning, and somebody opens that bottle and they're just taken a bunch of acid fumes, they might not even be able to work and they might need medical help, in which case not only do they lose earnings, but they also lose money for the day. And so vulnerability not only comes from external factors beyond the control of waste generators, it also, vulnerability is also generated by poor behavior exhibited by waste generators.
Cardboard has to go in cardboard, paper has to go in the paper. उसको जो अलग-अलग सब चीज़ें कबाड़ी वाले अच्छे आते थे तो वो सेग्रीगेट भी करते थे और उनका रीयूज़ भी होता था, लिफाफे बनते थे, बहुत कुछ होता था, लेकिन अब वो सब नहीं होता। आई थिंक पहले लोग जो करते थे वो ज़्यादा बेटर काम था। अब क्योंकि हम इतने मॉडर्नाइज हो गए हैं कि हम भी कहते हैं दिस इज़ अ वेस्ट, वी डोंट हैव टाइम टू डू ऑल दिस।
मुझे आता नहीं था किस में क्या डालें, और गीला सूखा और जो गंदगी, गंदा कपड़ा या फिर हागीस वगीस, यही सब, कांच का टुकड़ा, कभी हाथ कट जाता था, पैर कट जाते थे, प्रॉब्लम होती थी।
Suppose I am the consumer, I am the citizen, I am segregating my waste. But when the waste gets collected, it gets collected again in the same bin, in the same trolley. If you want my segregated waste, you must show that 2 waste streams are going to different places. So that it's a systemic requirement. So for citizens' action to succeed, you need the systems also in place. Otherwise, you lose motivation.
If the garbage guy comes, they should be that much educated that आपने कौन सा कूड़ा गीले में रखना है या वो उसके पास 2 boxes हो. They just come with a big bag and everybody is giving the black bags to them or whatever bags they have, or they empty their buckets in there. They don't separate it. They need to make strict, or they can fine the people if it's not separated.
काम तो अभी कुछ बदला ही नहीं है जी। काम जो कूड़ा सोसाइटी को जो कूड़ा उठाते हैं उसमें काम बदला नहीं है। ये सरकार इसमें लागू किया था कि ये गीला कूड़ा अलग, सूखा कूड़ा अलग, रिजेक्ट कूड़ा अलग देने के प्रॉब्लम बनाया था, और कुछ दिनों के लिए अब दिया भी, कोई दिया भी नहीं। अब तो एकदम ही बंद है, और अभी चाह रहा किसी सोसाइटी में कैसा करें, सूखा अलग दे, गीला अलग दे, रिजेक्ट अलग दे। और इसमें उनको भी तकलीफ ज़्यादा हो जाएगा। कोई सरकार एक बार ड्राम भी दिया था कि अलग अलग कूड़ा देना है, और ये सब कुछ करते नहीं है, उसी बाल्टी को अपना काम में लगा लेते हैं, इस्तेमाल कर लेते हैं, बस वही हालत है अभी, वही सब एक साथ मिक्स ही देगा।
Do you think MCD actually communicates with the citizens? I don't think so. If they had a decent awareness campaign telling people what happens to the waste and how waste needs to be managed and how the landfills are growing and how it becomes toxic, but most citizens don't know. And a lot of them don't care because they don't know.
To tackle the issue of waste management, the mindset of the courts, implementing bodies and people needs to change. There has to be a shift in values causing triggered responses. No rules or judgments can be implemented without a systemic change.
Waste is something which can be managed. It's not something which needs to be just thrown out and left to the municipality. The courts also are following this top-down approach. They're ordering the municipalities. Now, ordering the municipalities, how long can you, pardon the expression, but flog a dead horse? It's doing what it can. It's the nature of the beast. So you need to, if the court needs to play a role, they need to find ways in which the municipalities can work differently. Maybe order a committee which will think how the municipalities can do the same thing differently, or how they can ensure maybe a different way in which you measure success.
When it comes to court orders, I also feel that it shouldn't be all about hearings. It should be about real action on the ground, and I feel sometimes that is lacking. It shouldn't be all about paperwork where municipalities and pollution control boards are only working to submit documents to the court. I feel the court should also look into implementation in terms of what real change after an order has been prosecuted, what has happened on the ground.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट कर चुका है, पर दिल्ली नगर निगम को भी तो करना चाहिए। दिल्ली नगर निगम को भी तो देखना चाहिए कि गरीब आदमी कैसे गुजारा करेगा। इसका जो माल मेहनत का सिर्फ उसको माल मिला, उसको तनख्वाह नहीं मिल रहा, तो कॉर्पोरेशन को भी कुछ करना चाहिए इसके लिए।
We have to invest money into improved recycling, because at this point in the recycling hubs that we have in Delhi, according to government, they can be polluting, and if they are polluting, it's our job to use technology and help them not to be polluting, rather than merely close them down, because that's not a solution. They'll go somewhere else and pollute somewhere else.
So we all have to train each other, including our helpers and the garbage collector, as to what is wet waste and what is dry waste, and then keep it separately and give it separately, and then hopefully it stays separate as it goes to the Dhalao and when it reaches the landfill.
You have to start from your own house. Nobody else is going to come and do it for you.
It is hard to say if courts can really play that role. You know, the courts may not be in the best position to do such long-term intensive monitoring. After all, there are judicial bodies. They are very good and when they have to pass judgment on something, but to monitor action on the ground is a hard thing for the court to do. So often many of these committees which are formed, or these groups with the court orders, they end up giving a report to the court, and the court then gives some directions based on that, and the case gets closed, but nothing changes on the ground.
Or the capacities of PCBs or municipalities in a way should be upgraded, so that there's a dedicated person to look into various cases or various orders that happen on waste management or other allied issues.
वो जज जो सबसे सुप्रीम कोर्ट सबसे बड़ा है, उनका नहीं सुन रहे हैं, तो हमारे सुनेंगे? बिल्कुल भी नहीं सुनेंगे।
If you don't identify the bottlenecks, then the judgments don't make very much sense to my mind. But if you identify bottlenecks, then you can break those bottlenecks using judicial power. So the courts are doing the best, but the system has to now also meet the expectations.
So thank you very much. I think now time for the tea break.